to know. They want to know when we likely get back to normal. Once a person gets vaccinated, what can they do? Can they do anything differently? Back to normal. That's what people want to know. When does that happen?
Yeah, it's going to be a cohort effect. And what I mean by a cohort effect, Don, is that you can't look at yourself in a vacuum like I'm vaccinated and then when can we get back to normal? Well, normal is a societal thing. So what we mean, if you want our society to get back to normal, you have to get about 70 to 85% of the population vaccinated. Because if you do that, notwithstanding the variants, which we'll have to address in a second, but if you can get people protected and get an umbrella of what we call herd immunity, the level of infection is going to go very, very low down in the community and in society. And at that point, the entire community could start getting back to normal, and namely doing things that each and every person would want to do. Maybe not 100% back to normal, but at least approaching normal. I think if we do it right, if we really efficiently and effectively get people vaccinated, we can do that by the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. Having said that, Don, there is an absolute but in that. And the but is that we have to address the variants. If the variants and the mutations come and start becoming dominant, then that's going to obviate some of the effect of the vaccine. And the best way to avoid that is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible, because viruses don't mutate if they don't replicate. The only way a virus mutates if it can replicate. So if you vaccinate people and double down on public health measures and keep the level of viral dynamics low, we will not have an easy evolution into mutations. That's something that people really need to understand. The way you stop those mutations, get vaccinated and abide by the public health measures.
Shalom, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA QADASH, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the great millstone, who rule well, who taught me this truth. Enough respect and salutations to the fellow Akim, the like-minded men, the house of David, that's on fire, fervently pushing this truth. Yahawah BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, Barakathum to you Akim, as well as the sincere Akwah that are listening and learning. This is your brother YAHAWASHI, coming to you from the Birmingham branch with this 100% doctrine. And yeah, in layman terms, this place is not going to get back to normal. We're not going to be back into normalcy. You understand? They can give you this song and dance about who need what needs who, this, that, and the other. But truth be told, we the men here at Great Millstone have another gospel. We have another testimony. All right? And YAHAWASHI is doing this. So you're not going to be able to get back to normality. You're not going to be able to enjoy the fun in the sun, family reunions, large gatherings, happy hour. This thing that we're talking about here is a thing of the past. The scriptures speak of this. All right? And here you have Gil Bates himself tell you that it's going to get much worse before it gets better. It's going to get much worse before it gets better. Who he's taking notes from. All right? So without further ado, this article is from CNN. Today, February 3rd, 2021. All right? The year of hastening. 70% to 85% of Americans need to be fully vaccinated for a return to normal, Fauci says. So far, it's less than 2%. That means these devils up against the wall. So they're going to have to make a drastic move to vaccinate the majority of Americans. Now, when you step back and take a look at it, we're supposed to be the minority. We're supposed to be lesser in number to the counterparts of the inhabitants of America. So why would we, you know, if we would make up only 14% of the population in America, Why is it such a drastic deal to get so-called blacks, Latinos, and natives vaccinated? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. You see, we know that this is a, this is a setup. All right, just to put it out there to you. And again, we have a different gospel. And we're going to get to some scriptures, Lord willing, this will be edified and comforted. I want to get to this. It says, study. Younger adults are the biggest spreaders of virus in the U.S. Well, how did they come to that estimate? How did they come up with that least common denominator? All right? By their soothsayers, by their lies, by their media, by their witchcraft. And this is what they get you to believe. If you want to get back to happy hour, this is what you have to do. If you want to get back to ball games, this is what you got to do. If you want to get back to family vacations, this is what you have to do. You know? Well, the scripture tells us to never trust thine enemy. Why? Because he doesn't sleep unless he calls someone to fall. You see? Let's get into these scriptures. Lord willing, again, this will be edifying and comforting. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 9 and verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, the things that took place in the past, the World War I's, the World War II's, our captivity, which we're still in to this day, the remembering Lot's wife on how she, got turned into a pillar of salt for not obeying the word of the Lord. Remember that. Those are the signs that are past. Verse 2, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And how do we know he's visiting the world which he made? Prophecies are popping. Okay? Prophecies are taking place right before your eyes. Even if you are not privy to it, you understand some inkling, you have some type of sense in your mind to know something's not right with these drastic measures, with these draconian laws, with these lockdowns, with this free money. Nothing's free, right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10 and verse 3. And what will ye do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will ye flee for help? And where will ye leave your glory? See, America, glory is pride. And the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thinking that you're going to get back to normality. See, this is a hard reset that the elites are trying to accomplish here. This is something that they had in their plans on their books for a long time now. Now they're able to what? Push it forth, because the one who will let until he'll be taken out of the way. So you have to measure that time within itself and understand that these normalcy, the way you walk and go, drive to and fro, fly, mask, passports by the way of Crown Vicks. Things is changing, all right? It's called gradualism. But they're pushing the pedal to the metal. They're speeding things up. So they're telling you, loosely translated, if you want to get back to normal, well, you need to take this, or you need to take that, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. You need to abide by the rules and regulations, which are draconian, to get back to normalcy. All right? We already see that a man is not able to go into a city. You have insurrection among men. You have sedition among men, so forth and so on. And you're going to ask yourself, well, who mentioned to us about these things taking place? Who mentioned to us that the word will be taken off the streets, will be taken off the internet? They're coming down hard with these guidelines, All right? With these certain measures, measuring the time. Again, Isaiah 10:3. And what will ye do in the day of visitation? You see? And the Lord told you right here. Then shalt thou well understand. Thou shalt understand, Salakia. I'm excited. Then shalt thou understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And what will ye do? You know? You have to ask yourself that. You see? This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Let's start there. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And this is what you see take place on January 6th. All right? This is what you see taking place over there that started in France with the yellow vests. Now it's uproars of the people in Austria. All right? Why? Well, to just narrow it down to a simple fact, we know that the word is being reached to each and every corner of the earth. And the spirit of people, something's wrong. Something's not right. Something doesn't settle well with them. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. You're not able to go to and fro as once you so-called had freedom. Used to, especially by flight. You know, if you're coming from America and you're going into any other country across that pond, they're looking to kidnap you. See, this is what the mainstream media don't talk about. You understand? So let's go back to this article. Let's read that again. Again, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. You see? Let's get his quotes. It says, right here, it says, experts has previously warned that surges were largely driven by younger groups. Fauci said, but that doesn't mean those groups should get the vaccine at the expense of getting the older people who have the underlying conditions get vaccinated. You don't want to deprive them to get the younger ones. You don't want to deprive them to get the younger ones, which means deprive the older ones to get the younger ones, because they're the ones that are going to wind up in the hospital and have a higher rate of death. They're telling you death is coming. Loosely translated, subliminal lines, all right, sublines. And this is what they're giving you. They're giving you an overtone. 70 to 85% need to be fully, but on the latter hand, they're letting you know that the younger ones are going to have a higher death rate. You got to understand that this is by design. This is not just all of a sudden, oh, if they released a variant or variants, as they say, into the states, well, you people that are not immune to it will get it. So if you're not immune, you need to what? You need to go get a vaccine. You go get a vaccine, then you should be covered. Not. You know, if you Google how many deaths a year in America, they will give you a number that's astronomical. From anything, gunshot wound, cancers, amputations, medical errors. You know why? Because they are physicians of no value. You see? It says states will see an increase in vaccine supply. So they're getting you ready, all right? They're getting the Army ready, the Coast Guard ready to distribute these vaccines, man. Let's get to a scripture real quick. This is where Revelation 12:12 come into play. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them, which in the scriptures, all right, which in this word you meditate day in, day out. You listen to videos, you catching the apostles, you're catching, all right, the heads of camp, you're catching the like-minded men, all right, that's pushing this truth forward. All right, you listen to the videos, you take heed, you know, those of you that's inspiring to be teachers, you're taking notes. This is what that means, rejoice, ye heavens. When you're in the scriptures, you're rejoicing by default. It says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. You see, so what you going to do in the time of visitation? That's the question. It says, for the devil has come down unto you having great wrath. Because why he has great wrath? First and foremost, only 2%. Only 2% has been willing to be vaccinated. All right? And hey, the phone had to chirp on that one. You know, compared to what their goal, what their, you know, top priority is. And mainly their top priority is to get you niggas, Latinos, and Native Americans, so-called, vaccinated, man. All right? Simply by a poison. All right? This is the skull and bones. You see? So it says, for the devil has come down unto you having great wrath, and that's his wrath. Not able to perform his enterprise, to complete it, to cap it off with that crown. It says, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And that time is very, very short. It's speeding up. They want to subtract a second off the minute to keep up with the earth rotation. All right, but this is the Lord's movement. And see, we bring this scripture out a lot. Therefore, if we bring this scripture out, we must bring Luke 3 and 7, which you can find in Matthew 3 and 7 as well. Luke chapter 3 and verse 7. Then said he to the multitude that came forth to be baptized of him, O generation of vipers, who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come? You see? You can't be focused on what's going to take place, all right, you know, next day and the next day and what you had in the past, you know, dwelling on things that was dear to your heart, you know, because that'll take your attraction and your attention off what's to come, like fleeing from these times spiritually, all right? And it's going to turn to a physical fleeing, believe it or not. Hey, the scriptures are written so beautifully that you have to pay attention. So this is a cursing out here. These vipers, you know, yeah, when they were speaking of vipers and serpents, you know, those are curse words. Not as in cursing, putting a curse on someone, but as in, like, hey, if you know, such and such, you viper, you know. It says, oh, generation of vipers, because that's what we have on this earth today, you know, especially amongst our people. All right, and mainly we're talking to our people that you don't want to take heed to what we're telling you. You see? I don't know what happened. Lord willing to continue to record.